I love portrait photography, and in this video I'm going to share some effective techniques for capturing engaging portraits with your iPhone. Now, regardless of which iPhone you have, lighting is the single most important aspect of iPhone portrait photography. And today we're going to focus on shooting in soft, shaded light because it's the most flattering and easiest to work with for everyone. And while it is possible to shoot in harsh, direct sunlight using creative camera angles and poses, it requires advanced techniques that take time to learn. So I found a beautiful location, but before I do anything else, before I decide on a composition and pose and which lens I'm going to use, we need to fix this harsh light because it's causing Marta to squint. Look, it's not a very nice experience for her. Plus she's got harsh shadows under the eyes, the nose and the chin. So we need to fix this harsh light before we do anything else. So how do you do that? Just find some shade. Now this is so much better. We've only come around the corner, but it's transformed the light on Marta's face. The light on her is so much softer now. It's eliminated those harsh shadows, but she's still got a soft shadow under the chin, which is giving shape to the face. So it's a much more flattering shadow. So now I can compose my photo and choose a lens. The choice when it comes to portraiture is straightforward because the wide lens, the main camera, the one that I'm in now, and the ultra wide, they distort at closer portrait distances. As I move forward in the 1x lens to a more portrait distance, it starts to pull features in unnaturally, and the ultra wide just takes this to the extreme. Look at the size of Marta's hands down here. It's completely out of proportion. So what I like to do, and what I recommend that you start with as well, is one of your telephoto lenses. Take a step back and zoom in instead. Look at the difference that makes. Everything is now nicely in proportion with my 2x lens. Now your zoom options might differ to mine. You might have a 2x, a 3, a 5. It doesn't matter. They will all have the similar effect of removing that distortion and allowing you to take a step back. I'll often use the 2x telephoto when I want to see more of the background and space is limited. But when I've got the room, I'm going to go with my favorite, the 5x telephoto, because this lens has excellent image quality and really pleasing background compression. Background compression is where the background appears to be much closer than it really is, which makes it look more pleasing and less distracting compared to wider lenses where it looks to be much further away and more stretched out. So these lens options aren't simply different levels of zoom, they completely change how the frame looks, and they greatly influence the types of portraits you're able to capture. For example, in this shot, I want the curve of this handrail to lead from the corner of the frame up to Marta, who is on that point on the rule of thirds. And by the way, having something leading from the corner, like a line, up to your subject is a great way to make your photos more engaging. It's called a leading line. And the 5x telephoto lets me do this. But if I try and get this same shot with some of the other lenses, let's see what happens. The 2x telephoto, I think I can just get away with it. But if I go any wider, like with the 1x lens, look at that background compression. Look how I can suddenly see a lot more of the sky there. Marta's the same size in the frame, but the background and all her proportions just look completely different. Not good at all. There's also the fact that your iPhone's telephoto lenses look a lot more natural and realistic with portrait mode. Portrait mode applies a blur effect to your photos that mimics larger camera lenses like these. To activate portrait mode, simply come into the camera app and swipe over to the word portrait. Now we are in beautiful portrait mode. We have this yellow reticle that has appeared to confirm it has indeed found a person, and that is what portrait mode is going to focus on. It's going to blur everything else. and I can cycle through my lenses. You can see how portrait mode defaults to the 2x telephoto lens on this iPhone 15 Pro Max because, as I mentioned, the telephoto lenses just look a lot more natural and realistic with portrait mode. If I come to the 1x lens, you can see applying a blur effect when you're this wide just doesn't look realistic. So I'm going to come back to the 2x lens, and then I've got the 5x, the telephoto, 5x telephoto. So I can change this blur effect because Apple's default amount of blur doesn't look so realistic for me. I don't like it. So I'm going to tap where it says portrait, then tap this F and open the depth menu. So we have f4.5, and these numbers determine the amount of blur. If I swipe to the left on this slider, the number gets smaller, but the blur increases. And if I swipe to the right, the number gets larger, but the blur effect decreases. And now it looks a lot more realistic. So I like that. I'm going to tap X to go back. And then this changes to an f16, just to remind me how much blur I've selected. I can also change some lighting options. These are artificial lighting options. By tapping and holding, I've got studio light. This one doesn't look too bad in this situation. These often look really fake, especially these last three here. Why are these here? I don't know. I want them to go away, but they won't. I don't recommend you use them. If you can get something decent out of stage light, I'll be a fan of yours forever. Let's try studio light. Now, if I tap where it says portrait, you can see these icons. And if I tap intensity, I can actually reduce the effect. So I've got a little bit of studio light. It actually looks quite nice. So let me take this photo here. Let's say I want to change the portrait effect or remove it entirely. I can come into my camera roll, and the word portrait is here on the top left. I can tap that, and I could just turn the portrait effect off right there, and then still a nice photo, but I prefer the portrait effect on. And I can tap edit to make further changes. So I come into the editor. The focus is confirmed to be on Marta's face by this yellow reticle. You can actually refocus because the blur is artificial. I can refocus on the background. Much prefer it on the subject though, obviously. And I can also change the depth. Here's the depth slider again. So if I want to increase the blur or decrease it, I just move the slider as you would expect, or I can move it all the way to off again. And I can also come up to the top left, tap here, and change this lighting if I so wish. I can turn it off completely. I actually like my contour light set to 5, so I'm going to leave it. I can make my normal adjustments as well, like applying a filter. So I tap done and come out of that. But another way I have to edit my photos is to use one of the signature presets, part of iPhone Photography School's signature presets collection in Lightroom Mobile on the iPhone. I can come into Lightroom, tap on presets, and choose a preset that I think will look nice with my image. Modern chic. Looks beautiful. One tap editing. Finally, this iPhone 15 Pro Max has a wonderful feature called Portraits in Photo Mode. And you've actually already been watching Portraits in Photo Mode in action as I've been capturing photos throughout this video. And you can see it here now, actually, as the iPhone detects a person. You get this F in the bottom left-hand corner. So let me know it has detected a person, and I can actually activate portrait mode blur in photo mode without having to leave it and go into portrait mode. So watch what happens if I just tap this F. The yellow reticle appears and I get a live preview just like portrait mode, and I can capture this photo. Taking a photo, Marta, eyes up a little bit, okay. And I can actually capture the photo again. If I tap this yellow F, turn it off, as long as that F is there, I'm capturing that depth information. There we go. So watch what happens now when I come into the camera roll. I get the portrait edit options just like I would if I was in portrait mode, and I can edit it just again, like I was in portrait mode. And if you don't see this F appearing, you can force it to by just tapping to focus on the person. But it's really good at detecting people, so you shouldn't really have this problem. Utilizing portrait mode with a telephoto lens in soft lighting will go such a long way to improving your iPhone portraits. Just take care though to not overdo that portrait blur, because if you do, then it can have the opposite effect. Portraits can look fake and jarring. So I highly recommend that you definitely use everything that we've gone through today together, as opposed to individually, to achieve the best results. Thanks for watching and happy shooting.